This is the QTV 90 News coming to you from our studios on Kairaba Avenue. Thanks for joining us. Here are the main news headlines. At least 11 victims of human rights violations of the Jammeh-led regime have passed away since 2021, leaving behind many more, some of whom are now battling serious medical conditions. Representatives of farmers' organizations gathered on Thursday for a two-day National Agroecology Consultative Dialogue and validation of a developed action plan and charter. The United Nations Population Fund and partners commenced a two-day stakeholder forum on the minimum initial service package for sexual and reproductive health. In business news, we hear from the winner of GCCI Kirjula Challenge in the Information, Computer and Technology category. In international news, Senegalese opposition leader Ousmane Sonko has submitted his candidacy for the February presidential election despite refusal from the Electoral Commission to provide him the necessary documents to contest. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. This is QTV Nightly News, and I am Andy Kema. At least 11 victims of human rights violations of the Jammeh-led regime have passed away since 2021, leaving behind many more, some of whom are now battling serious medical conditions. As some of them tell their stories, QTV's Momodou Minchoy hears of the frustration and helplessness in their struggle to regain their health.
Experiencing pain, frustration and helplessness, some of the stories of these victims of human rights violations. Since they are tortured by agents of the previous regime, their health conditions have worsened throughout the years. Yusuf Mbaye is a victim survivor of the April 10 and 11, 2000 student demonstration. Yusuf, a student at the time, was shot from behind with a bullet piercing his spinal cord. For 23 years, he has been paralyzed and wheelchair-bound from that shooting.
This pain goes through, this pain never stops. I'm always experiencing pain because I cannot achieve anything. I'm depending on my family and friends. They are the ones taking care of us. Since I came here, even the government to pay for my travel, because through my medical certificate, they included that I should consider my future travel. But since I came here, the government did not pay anything for me.
Umi Jan is also a victim survivor of the April 10 and 11 student demonstration. She was also shot by state security agents, leaving fragments of bullets in her elbow. Together with Yusuf Mbaye and two other victims, Umi Jan was sent to Turkey for medical treatment with the help of interim reparation from the TRRC. She tells us that she could perform tasks with her hands until recently, when she underwent surgery in Turkey, where the bullet fragments were removed. However, like others she went with for overseas treatment, her medical condition has worsened.
The pain I am going through, only God and I know. I can't sleep, both day and night, being unable to do what I could before. My husband doing everything for me is painful. Feeding and rent payment has become a problem. Truly, government should pay attention to the victims. Those of us who went to Turkey did not have a proper treatment.
Alhaji Sedikan is a victim of torture by the previous regime. Following the arrest of the April 16, 2016 protesters led by Solo Sandeng, Alhaji Sedikan was among UDP members who organized a protest on May 9th to mark a court appearance by their party leader and other demonstrators. Along with other protesters, Alhaji was arrested, severely beaten, and detained for nearly 2 months.
I constantly experience pain in my ribs, stomach and head. I endure headache 24 hours a day because I was beaten on the head until I sustained injuries. I am a painter, but now I can't force myself to walk without regaining health, and I can't sit without doing anything to feed my family.
Going by their medical records, the health conditions of these victims are worsening. Other victims who were in similar or worse condition could not pull through. Here is a list of 12 victims of torture and witch hunt who suffered from illnesses and died between August 2021 and August 2023. Most of those in the list died this year. Sukay Dahaba, who was among those arrested, detained and tortured on May 9, 2016, is among the victims who passed away this year. I have been speaking to her friend Aisri Sedi, also known as Musolba. She and the victims I spoke to echoed similar sentiment of helplessness in the face of critical, unattended medical conditions.
We faced financial constraints for Sukai's medical treatment. She had been sick for long and complained about suffering, but the government did not help her. She could not benefit from the reparations government promised the victims. Sometimes we would attend victim programs. Sukai would always emphasize that she would not survive her sickness as she had no support for medical treatment.
Leading the implementation of the TRRC white paper is the Attorney General and Minister of Justice. The government issued its white paper a year ago, accepting most of the recommendations in the TRRC report. Since then, government has been working to establish the legal framework for justice and reparation. One major breakthrough in that effort is the passing of the Victims' Reparations Act. However, the victims accuse the government of taking slow steps in the transitional justice process. Here is Safia Tunyang, a state counsel speaking on behalf of the Ministry of Justice.
We were just ensuring that whatever we're doing, we make sure that we do it in line with the requirements of the law and to ensure that we have a solid legal framework that these commissions and these mechanisms can stand on. We have also partnered and worked with the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Finance, of course, to set up a medical board that will assess victims that need urgent medical care. And we have successfully done that. Now we just need to ensure that the board will have the required resources and facilities to ensure that it carries out its work.
A secretariat needs to be established, commissioners need to be appointed, other secretariat staff need to come in place, an institution need to be identified. So before those things come to place, a lot of victims will die along the way. So do we have to wait? No, we shouldn't.
In line with the Victims' Reparations Act, the Ministry of Justice plans to establish a reparations commission in the first quarter of next year. The commission will administer the Victims' Fund, where reparations will be paid, and admit new victims based on objective criteria, and maintain a victims database. In the 2024 budget estimates, $60 million is budgeted for victim reparations. Mahmoud Lamin, QTV News.
Representatives of farm organizations gathered on Thursday for a two-day National Agroecology Consultative Dialogue and validation of a developed action plan and charter aimed at sharing experience and knowledge on agroecology. Alucise witnessed the opening ceremony and he now reports.
Agroecology is the application of economical concepts and principles for sustainable farming. The recognition of agroecology as the most economical and environmentally friendly way of transforming agriculture and food systems motivated ECOWAS to set up an agroecology program in application of its regional agricultural policy. The agroecology program aims to strengthen resilience of family farms in the face of climate change while paying attention to the challenges of food security, population health, and environmental preservation. The program is coordinated by the Regional Agency for Agriculture and Food based in Lomé, Togo. It is being implemented by the Ministry of Agriculture's Department of Planning through the project to support the dissemination and implementation of good practices for sustainable agricultural intensification funded by the European Union and the project to support the agroecological transition financed by the French Development Agency. Maud Eke Seka, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture, said the project will greatly improve the lives and livelihoods of millions of people in the sub-region. He promised that his ministry shall continue to pursue and strengthen partnership with more development partners in order to empower the farming communities.
In order to continue the national discussions on agroecology during the period of the project and beyond, an action plan is needed to guide consultations and advocacy processes. The purpose of the action plan and the operating charter is to define priority multi-year actions for sharing experiences and knowledge on agroecology.
The objective of the validation is to create an opportunity for stakeholders to debate on merging and existing agroecology platforms and other agroecology units within the Ministry of Agriculture National Agroecology Program that are not captured by the consultant for inclusion in the final documents. Musa Sow, President of the National Coordinating Organization for Farmers Association in the Gambia, NACOFAC, and Francis Mendy, Director of Planning, Department of Planning of the Ministry of Agriculture, respectively, advocate the need for an environmental-friendly farming system that benefits the people and not cause harm.
The use of chemical fertilizers, use of pesticides, use of fungicides and insecticides. These are all harmful to the environment and also harmful to our health. But how do we use the biological processes to enhance our production and increase yield? You know, because one thing we have to understand is when we talk about crop production, we know pollination plays a key role. And the pollination comes from the bees and the butterflies. And you can't even find butterflies now.
The ECOWAS is trying to come up to support all farming families to make sure that actually agroecology is also included in their operations. So this is why all the member states of ECOWAS have been given the opportunity to come up with projects on the agroecology, which the Gambia is part of a beneficiary.
Agroecology.
Even though not a new concept, Hadi Diouf, President of Agroecology, North Bank Region, believes it is a major part of the global actions against deforestation, biodiversity loss, and greenhouse emission, among others. Participants are expected to thoroughly review the documents to come up with realistic outcomes. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cissé.
The United Nations Population Fund and partners commenced a two-day stakeholder workshop on the minimum initial service package for sexual and reproductive health. The aim is to develop a comprehensive national minimum initial service package action plan for the Gambia. Julian Jai attended the event and she now reports.
The Minimum Initial Service Package, MISP, for sexual and reproductive health in crisis is a series of crucial, life-saving activities required to respond to the sexual and reproductive health needs of affected populations at the onset of a humanitarian crisis. These needs are often overlooked with potentially life-threatening consequences. According to data from UNFPA, over 500 women die in pregnancy or childbirth every day in humanitarian and fragile settings. The timely provision of sexual and reproductive health services can prevent death, disease and disability related to unintended pregnancy, obstetric complications, sexual and other forms of gender-based violence, HIV infection, and a range of reproductive disorders. Here is Cherno Usman Jallo, consultant for the Minimum Initial Service Package.
Whatever disaster happens, within 48 hours, how do we respond as a country to help women and girls in the villages, in towns and cities? That's the whole purpose, to come together, UNFPA, the UN system, government agencies through the Ministry of Health, NGOs, through let's say Red Cross and GFPA, family planning, to support the country develop an action plan to identify the minimum initial package.
The National Disaster Management Agency is one of the agencies that is in the forefront in disaster mitigation. Lamin Waidabo, a program officer with the National Disaster Management Agency, NDMA, spoke of the impact this policy will have on their work.
So once these strikes will be able to help us, the key stakeholders, because health is part of it, gender-based, we have the expert and the expertise, so that the basic equipment, dignity kits can be provided, and so that we can help. Because whenever disaster strike, as I told you, most of our women are mostly vulnerable. When the area of HIV/AIDS and STIs, so with these kits, it will be readily available so that we can intervene and respond to them.
In emergencies, people with disabilities may encounter physical barriers, obstacles to communication, and other barriers to accessing essential services. Hence, they may easily suffer greater discrimination as well as lower levels of protection against disaster than those offered to people without disabilities. Our boy is a representative from the Gambia Federation of the Disabled. She too welcomes the initiative.
Women are vulnerable when it comes to conflicts, most especially those with disability. I think this workshop will at least help us, because looking at our condition, when crisis happens, even those who are physically fit they always face more challenges, much more those with disabilities. So I think this will help us to let people cater for us when crisis happens, when conflicts, when disaster.
For QTV News, I am Julden Jai.
We will now go for a commercial break, but when we return, we have national, business and international news stories. Do stay tuned.
The Birth Registration Unit under the Ministry of Health is pleased to inform the public that routine birth registration services have resumed across the Gambia. Following the successful introduction of the new electronic civil registration of births and issuance of National Health Insurance Card in 2022, the Ministry of Health will be issuing birth certificates at designated health facilities across the Gambia. All eligible Gambians, especially parents of eligible children, are encouraged to walk into health facilities to obtain a birth certificate for themselves and their children. To be eligible for a birth certificate, you must meet at least one of the following requirements: be born in the Gambia to one or both Gambian parents, be born in the Gambia to parents who are non-Gambians, be born in the Gambia to parents who are refugees resident in the Gambia, be born outside the Gambia to one or both Gambian parents. Those who wish to obtain a birth certificate need at least one of the following documents: infant welfare card, antenatal card for newborn, alcalos attestation endorsed by district chief or mayor, old birth certificate elongated. At least one of the following supporting documents from one or both parents will also be required: birth certificate, Gambian National Identity Card, infant welfare card, passport, death certificate, residential permit or non-Gambian identity card, refugee ID card. The Ministry of Health and partners wish to remind all Gambians that birth registration is a fundamental right of every child. Therefore, all parents and guardians are strongly encouraged to obtain a birth certificate for their children. Remember, birth registration for children under 5 years of age is free.
Welcome to Tamale Beach Resort's original fish market.
You come for the fish market?
Yes, I do.
I'm having the red sniper here, and then I'm having the black grouper.
And this looks very fresh, right? It looks like it's alive, the octopus. It looks like it's alive. Oh, this looks very nice. Look at the fish. Looks very fresh, right? Okay.
Then you want the grilled one?
Yeah.
You want the nice one?
A very spicy grill. And I love what he's doing here. He's mixing the spice and everything looks very, very nice. So if you're coming to the fish market on Friday, make sure you wear your best cultural attire. This looks so beautiful and yummy. So $1,500 per person, and you will have a nice place or a much bigger place because you get to choose as much as you want. So I will enjoy. See you here next week.
If you're just tuning in, this is QTV Nightly News. And now let's take a look at what is happening in the world of business. In business news, Ramotulai Jallo, who was triumphant in the Information, Communications and Technology ICT category of the National Business Plan competition known as the Kerujula Challenge, organized by the GCCI in collaboration with the Q Group Foundation and other partners, is the founder of Smile Africa Bookings, an online booking site. Lena E. Igwenyuba reports.
Ramotulai Jallo of Smiling Coast Tourism.
Having secured a substantial grant of $150,000 as one of the 19 outstanding entrepreneurs from the National Business Plan competition, Ramotulai Jallo has materialized her vision with Smile Africa Bookings. This digital travel startup aims to boost the tourism sector and consequently spur economic growth in the country. Boubacar Saho, Director of Business Development and Programs at GCCI, commended Ramotulai's entrepreneurial journey.
When GCCI takes steps to support Ramotulai and people like Ramotulai, not only are we investing in their business ideas, but we're investing in the person. because we believe that the drive that she exhibits every single time, the passion, the commitment, it's unquestionable.
Ramatulai Jallo, the founder of Smile Africa Bookings, in her appreciation of GCCI's Kirjula Challenge, delves into the inspiration and unique offerings of her booking site, emphasizing its capacity to enhance the Gambia's standing in the tourism sector.
Kirjula's financing was really helpful to us, and it led to our achievement of launching the platform after only 1 year of starting the building. That was a big milestone for us. We build software for the travel industry, and our latest one, which is in fact the first one that we built, it's called smileafrica.com. It is a booking engine. When you talk about a booking engine, is, let's say, for example, you want to come to the Gambia, or you are in the Gambia, you want to go chill out, you want to go in a hotel or an apartment or something like that, you can easily go to smileafrica.com, select any of your choice, any of the choices you have on the platform, and make a booking in less than 30 seconds. There is no platform that does that.
Bubakar Saho, emphasizing Ramatulai's unwavering dedication and resilience, calls upon aspiring young entrepreneurs to explore opportunities facilitated by the GCCI, hinting at forthcoming plans for 2024.
Ramatulai will show up. She will show up and tell you that she's having challenge X, Y, and Z, and she's seeking for ideas or assistance in. She will engage us. So as a result of that, she's always in our minds and within scope. The merit that you bring on the table is what we will look at, and then we will definitely award you accordingly. So I will encourage everyone to apply. In fact, in 2024, we are planning to have a very widely covered business plan competition again, but this time we want to focus mainly on agriculture, particularly rice and horticultural value chains.
Drawing from her 5 years of experience, Ramatulai Jallo has valuable advice for budding entrepreneurs, emphasizing the essentials of skills, discipline, and resilience.
If you want to make it in the entrepreneurial venture, you have to first of all have the skills for what you're going for. The other thing is we should cultivate some form of discipline in our journeys. Discipline in a sense that you get up and do what you ought to do, even if you don't want to do it. So when things get hard, don't run. Don't just pack your stuff and go. Remember the why you started. If the why is strong enough to get you started, then I think it should be strong enough to keep you moving.
With trailblazers like Ramatulai spearheading transformative change, and institutions like the GCCI nurturing and validating such ambitions, the potential for national development, economic growth, job creation, and a thriving business landscape are boundless. Reporting for QTV News, I am Lena Igwenyiba.
And from that story, we now shift our attention to news outside the country. In international news, Senegalese opposition leader Ousmane Sonko has submitted his candidacy for the February presidential election despite refusal from the Electoral Commission to provide him the necessary documents to contest. More in this report by Jenoma Sonko and narrated by Lena Igwenyiba.
Sonko's lawyers filed his candidacy for the February presidential election, saying they hope the justice system would be more receptive. We are certain that his candidacy will be accepted and validated, said Larifu, one of his lawyers, during a press conference in Paris. Sonko was convicted to 2 years in prison on June 1st on charges of corrupting the youth. Having refused to attend his trial, he was trialed in absentia. He has denied the charges, initially saying they are intended to prevent him from challenging President Macky Sall in the 25th February election. However, President Macky Sall has ruled out seeking re-election in 2024, ending widespread speculation that he would run for a third term, and has endorsed Prime Minister Amadou Ba as his successor. Sonko's opposition party, the Patriots of Senegal for Work, Ethics and Fraternity (PASTEF) party, was dissolved after government accused the party of frequently calling on its supporters to insurrectional movements, which has led to serious consequences, including loss of life, many wounded, as well as acts of looting of public and private property. In early November, When Sonko thought he might not be able to contest, his party named Bassirou Diomaye Faye as their candidate. After being cleared by a court in December to have his name back on the electoral list, a ruling the government has said it will appeal, Sonko has re-emerged as his party's candidate. Registration for the 2024 election closed on December 26th, with the Constitutional Council expected to make decisions on eligibility by the end of December. Reporting for QTV News, I am Lena Igwenyiba.
Before we end this bulletin, here's a recap of the headlines. At least 11 victims of human rights violations of the Jammeh-led regime have passed away since 2021, leaving behind many more, some of whom are now battling serious medical conditions. Representatives of farm organizations gathered on Thursday for a two-day National Agroecology Consultative Dialogue and Validation of a Developed Action Plan and Charter. The United Nations Population Fund and partners commenced a two-day stakeholder forum on the minimum initial service package for sexual and reproductive health. In business news, we heard from the winner of GCCI Keri Jula Challenge in Information, Computer and Technology category. In international news, Senegalese opposition leader Ousmane Sonko has submitted his candidacy for the February presidential election despite refusal from the Electoral Commission to provide him the necessary documents to contest. That's all we have for you in this bulletin, but join us at 10 p.m. for another news bulletin. Thanks for watching.